Hey everyone, how are you? Happy New Year. I have to apologize. I originally had a whole big grand plan for this video. I was going to do sort of casual conversation type interviews with a bunch of my friends about each of these albums. It was going to be really cool, but it didn't work out. The timing got all muddy. It was the middle of finals week. It didn't work. So instead, I'm here. I thought I'd at least do it in a nice environment. And I'm here to just talk about, very casually, my top 10 albums of the year. Number 10 for me is Space Cadet, the EP by Biba Doobie. I will be throwing a couple EP type projects in here just because I think they both work cohesively and are complete musical experiences worthy of being looked at as full projects. This EP is incredible. I originally heard Biba Doobie earlier this year. I heard the stuff she put out before this EP, and I wasn't huge on it. I was sort of middled, 50-50. There were a couple songs I really liked, but that was about it. Then I heard her open for Claro, and suddenly I heard all these songs where I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. She has this sort of slacker rock revival thing going on. Her voice fits over the guitar tone like in a really interesting way. I should probably check this out on record and check her out again and give her another chance. I checked out the Space Cadet EP and it's incredible, like front to back incredible. Every song of the 5 songs on this record is melodramatic, poignant, sharp, witty, a lot of really clever lyricism and really clever vocal delivery that just accentuates that and plays on this persona that she creates, very whimsically, almost whimsically melodramatic in a way. Like, it feels tongue-in-cheek, but not in a way that disrespects the material she's talking about. She's both very serious, but able to look at something with perspective and a lot of tone that's super interesting and super refreshing. I really love this EP, and if you're into anything, just check it out. It's an EP, bro. Like, you can make time for this. I don't care what you're into. You can make time for this. It's not that long. Definitely check it out. Number 9 for me is When I Get Home by Solange. If I was properly into this album earlier this year, I definitely could see it be my album of the year. It only really hit me later this year. I heard it when it came out, and I was impressed. I thought it was a step up from her last album, but I've really gotten into it lately. It's amazing. It's this musical sort of masterpiece interwoven with all these motifs of civil rights, and I have trouble even finding words to talk about it because it's really like, it comes from a totally different headspace than one I've ever really occupied. Like, the way that she interprets things, like even Houston, which we're both familiar with. She's from Houston. I'm from Houston. A lot of her, like, a lot of the album is inspired by places in Houston, but she just interprets things in such a unique way and is able to extrapolate these little ideas both musically and lyrically and like topically from all these different places in a way that's so unique and so personal to her. And the album feels like a full continuous experience. It's incredible. Musically, it's just amazing as well. Like, every part and every little nuance of every sound is incredible. Definitely check it out. And I suggest really giving this a time to sit down and listen to it, because if you can put yourself in this world, and especially watch the film that accompanies it as well, I think that really helps. If you can put yourself in this world, it's amazing, and it's something that is really remarkable and one of a kind. Speaking of remarkable and one of a kind music, let's talk about 100 gecs. Their album from this year, 1,000 gecs, is incredible. I've known Dylan for probably 4 or 5 years now. Incredible producer, always has been. But this record really feels like a step above everything else he's done to me. It perfectly captures what 2010s and like early 2010s internet culture feels like. It's witty, it's funny, it's sarcastic, it's in your face, it's melodramatic, but in a way that's incredibly self-aware. It's perfect. It encapsulates that culture perfectly. Everything is super catchy. Everything is jarring, but in a way that feels incredibly comfortable if you just approach it from this lens. Especially if you spent a lot of time on the internet maybe 5 years ago, you will get this completely. It really just captures that world beautifully, and in a way that I think is going to be really useful to reference back to when I sort of think about this era and the humor of this era. Looking at 100 gecs is going to be really important for me in terms of recalling that in my brain. Definitely super important. Definitely one of the most important electronic records of this year. Check it out if you haven't. Number 7 for me is Flume, the Hi, This Is Flume mixtape. What can I say about this? I honestly don't connect with it on as much of an emotional level as some of the other records on this list, especially once we approach the top. Ooh, it gets real emotional. But this record is just like perfect production in my eyes. The way Flume feels time and the way Flume constructs grooves and sounds is like my ideal of where I want to be. He's so smart, he's so meticulous, he's so detail oriented, but in a way that feels so natural for him. Like he just feels it. He feels this crazy, awkward, oblong sort of groove and music inside him. And it's amazing. It's amazing to be in that experience. And I sort of feel time in a similar way the Flume does. So when I hear someone executing it on such a high level, it's so interesting to me. Flume, Hi, This Is Flume, amazing mixtape. A lot of standout tracks too, a lot of great features. But for me, what does it overall in the project is his feel of time and his attention to detail with every little sound and every little sequencing. My number 6 record for the year is Charlie by Charli XCX. Her self-titled kind of. What else can I say about this record? It's amazing. Incredible pop tunes front to back. Innovative, future pop, pushing boundaries. It feels like what Pop 2 was for me, but that accelerated even further. I loved Pop 2. I have a lot of songs on there that hold near and dear to my heart. But this song feels like the best songs off Pop. This album feels like the best songs off Pop 2 for the entire record. Wow. Emotionally potent, catchy, delivered with a lot of technique and a lot of attention to detail, obviously, but in a way that's very palpable and very digestible. But if you're there to dig for the details, especially in the production, producers like A.G. Cook, Dylan Brady, Umru, amazing names all over this project that really carry this to, I think, my favorite electronic record of the year? Yeah. Kind of my favorite electronic record of the year. I don't know if my number 1 counts or not, but we'll get to that. Number 5 for me is Norman fucking Rockwell by Lana Del Rey. This record, oh my goodness. I have not been a Lana fan historically at all. I haven't even really liked any of her previous albums, like, very much at all. But she nailed it with this record. It's this Americana spirit. It's this self-aware, poignant lyricism again. Lyrics were a weirdly big thing for me this year, in a way where lyrics that were able to take a feeling that was embodied by the music and really present that immediately are perfect for me this year, and really did a lot for me. So this Lana Del Rey album is amazing. Every song is beautifully written. There's payoff, there's tension, there's drama, and at the end there's this beautiful picture of the inner workings of Lana's mind presented in all these different ways. She approaches it through other men, she approaches it through the spirit of Americana, she approaches it through direct self-reflection, but she never loses track of just trying to capture herself in this album, even if it's through a sort of different lens than one would typically view themselves in the 2010s at this point, 2020s. In 2019, like, it doesn't feel modern, but it feels incredibly relevant at the same time. It's really special. Definitely check it out, even if you haven't been a Lana fan. I was not. This is amazing. Number 4 is Beware of the Dogs by Stella Donnelly. This record came to me very late this year. My friend Tony put me onto it, and it's just amazing. Like, what can I say about it? It has that same spirit of a Snail Mail or a Biba Doobie, where it's this super, not glossy, but just hazy sort of sonic background with this female croon voice over the entirety of it. But what makes Stella Donnelly stand out is her super smart lyricism. I really don't know what to say. Like, I'm kind of speechless whenever I think about her lyrics, because everything is so beautifully and carefully written to capture specific feelings with such poise and such accuracy. The takes she has on things too, and the way she phrases things and her perspective is incredibly raw and honest, but presented in a way that wouldn't seem so at first. But when you really listen to what she's saying, she's just dictating things. She's dictating a lot of facts, and she's speaking very aggressively. But the way she delivers it is super palpable and super digestible. So you're able to fully understand her opinions and the feelings that come behind them without necessarily having any sort of experience in, like, Australian politics. I'm not Australian myself. I don't really have any strong connection to Australian politics. But the things that she says about the political regime from her country are, like, so digestible and so thorough at the same time. Like, she's able to perfectly capture everything that she's talking about and perfectly state her opinion in the way that it needs to be said, but in a way that I'll also be able to understand it, and the layman will also be able to understand it. So smart. One of the best records of this year, obviously. I have it at my number 4. Definitely check it out. This is the one on this list that I think is the most overlooked as one of the strongest records of this year. Now that we're at the top 3, we can finally talk about the shirt I have on, Tyler, the Creator, Igor. What else is there to be said about this record that hasn't been said already? Incredible innovative production over the entire thing, catchy hooks, strong lyricism, strong penmanship from Tyler. Like, probably his strongest ever, although Flower Boy is really great too. There's not much I can say that already hasn't been said. If you haven't heard Igor at this point, go listen to it. Like, what are you doing? It's one of the best records of this year, unanimously. Like, what? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to tell you here? Tyler does a really good job making almost the perfect modern breakup album. Yeah, you know that. You've heard that 30 times already. You already know what this album is about. You already know what it sounds like, probably. If you haven't heard it at this point, I don't really know how you found my channel, but good for you. Listen to Tyler the Creator, listen to Igor. Tyler the Creator, if you're new here, Tyler the Creator is probably my favorite artist of all time. And this is another really great effort in his catalog that I adore and will hold dear for a very long time. Number 2, this one also blindsided me this year, but it fueled an obsession that stays to this day. Immunity by Clairo. Wow. Every time I talk about this record, it amazes me how emotionally attached and just completely ingrained in the emotional language of this person I've become over the last 6 months or so. 6 months ago, I wasn't a Clairo fan. I still don't really like a lot of her old material, but this record is amazing. Like, amazing. She so simply and so subtly delivers these complex feelings about these melodramatic, like, sort of coming of age kind of topics, but not coming of age in a teenage way. It feels so much more mature than anything she's put out before. It feels like she is this 21-year-old who's been approached with all these things in her life and faced all these different dilemmas, both romantically and with her arthritis. And everything comes together to such a pained but beautiful product. Like, you can tell the amount of strain that was put into it and the amount of everything, in every little instrument, in every little vocal inflection. The subtlety of her emotion is so deep and so complex. But when you look at it in a big picture, it's also one of the most digestible pop albums of this year. Super palatable for anyone, very enjoyable on a surface level. But if you go just a little bit deeper and look at the subtleties of what she's saying and what she's doing, it immediately becomes one of the most emotionally vulnerable, one of the most emotionally gripping, one of the most telling, one of the most just outright pained, but yet sort of, I don't even have words for it. Like, it's so pained, but it's glowing, and it's living, and it's compact, and it's together, and it's all there. Like, it's so... I hope you can deal with my ramble and tell how much I care about this album, because, wow, this record blindsided me this year. So smart. Perfect. Like, perfect. Ugh. Go listen to this record if you haven't already, and if you have, listen to it again, and listen for those subtleties, because once you start hearing what Clairo's putting into this music, you'll get so much more out of it. And here we are at my last record of this year. This is perfect. Like, this is a perfect record. I have nothing bad to say about it. I have everything good to say about it. I can talk great about it on every front. And I think I knew from the moment I heard it that it would be a very strong contender for my album of the year. Even if it's only 3 songs, I had to make the exception to put it on here because it's a full journey and it's meticulously crafted in a way that feels like a full record experience. I knew it had to be on here. I knew it had to be on this list when I first heard it. But as I was starting to think about it a couple months ago and thinking about what my albums of the year really are, I came back and listened to it, and it just does so much for me. This is the Underscores project, We Never Got Strawberry Cake. This project is genius. Underscore speaks my musical language exactly. Like, every little note, every little drum sequencing placement, every little movement and change of a sound feels like it's directed towards the specific emotion that he's trying to tell me through these lyrics. And the lyrics are incredibly deadpan, direct, melodramatic, in a way that just delivers this emotion so potently and so incredibly. He also writes in a style that's incredibly comfortable for me. He takes one motif and he takes one musical idea and just stretches it and develops it and brings just so much more emotion out of it over a 4 or 5 minute track runtime. I just think he's one of, like, just on a composition standpoint, I think he's one of the best musicians I've ever heard. On every other standpoint, I really don't know what to say about this record. Like, if you listen to this record, the more times you listen to it, you will always find something new to get out of it. I've heard it over 100 times at this point, comfortably. And I always get something new from it, emotionally or musically. There's so much to take here because every facet of this record, both in the sounds, in the structure, in the emotions and the tone and the shifting tone over every song, like, everything feels so intentional and so calculated but effortless at the same time, and so emotionally potent but so beautiful always. There's just, I can talk about this record all day on an individual song basis, on a greater song basis. I can talk about this record literally all day. But I'll spare you that for now. Who's to say I won't drop another video just gushing about this album for hours. But if you want to hear me talk more in length about why I love each one of these albums, of course, follow my social media. Hit me up there asking anything. I have a bunch of honorable mentions that I'll list in the description as well. A lot of really great albums didn't make the cut for me this year. And, for example, some that come to mind, the Hiding Places by Kenny Segal and Billy Woods, like one of the most innovative art rap records I've ever heard. That's a great record that didn't make it for me this year. Ginger by Brockhampton didn't make it for me this year. What else didn't make it? Like, a lot of really great records just didn't make the cut for me this year. What else didn't make it? Dion's Suga. The Daniel Caesar record this year didn't make it. The Slowthai record didn't make it. Dave, Psychodrama didn't make it. Roy Blair's Graffiti didn't make it. Angel Olsen, All Mirrors didn't make it. FKA Twigs, Magdalene didn't make it. There are so many great records that didn't make the cut for me this year. So definitely check out those honorable mentions as well. With that being said, I love you all. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for continuing to watch through my weird hiatuses and uploads and rambles and all that. And I'll see you all very soon.